A lot of ideas today. Can we go over 10 minutes? 15? We'll see if any of them stick, and we'll get this one right out of the way. So Cassandra is a diabolical programmer, and in a good way, but she knows how to send it, even if she's not really planning to do it. It's just kind of like in her blood. So I'll post a workout on Instagram, no comments, no one cares. I actually get comments to say, hey, stop posting workouts, please. And then I'll post a workout that she's written or designed, and I'll get the most comments I've ever seen. Great workout, brutal, blah, 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 blah. So she's onto something. Maybe I should take a hint. But anyway, today's class workout over at CrossFit Mafia, and we didn't work out at the gym. We worked out at home. Class workout was 5 rounds for time, 10 thrusters, 65 pounds, 95 pounds, 50 double unders. And she was comparing herself or looking at other people's times who she's usually chasing or beating, people close to her, a lot of sub-minute, 10-minute times. She's like, I want to do a longer workout. And at her behest, we ended up with 10 rounds for time, 10 thrusters, 30 double unders, which I quote-unquote liked. And it was great. I recommend everybody give it a shot. If you need to scale down to a weight where you think you can get all the thrusters unbroken. If you really struggle with finishing 30 double unders, I would say in under a minute, I would just toss out 30 high jump single unders or 30 attempts and count both singles and doubles. You don't want to be, you want to feel the need for speed in that one. But every time I finish a workout with thrusters, I always think to myself, wow, those make me feel really good and they're challenging. They're not good while you're doing them, but after you feel good. It's like, I should do more of them, and I never do, which probably says a lot about me and the thruster. So that was today's workout. Now I lost track of what I wanted to say, but oh yeah. So I like stories and books and TV shows, video games. I'm just a story person. I like a good story. And when I do play video games, if anybody out there does this, I'm one of those people who, on top of the story, in order to be as complete as possible in the story, I'll finish like every little side quest and mission possible so I can see the full story. Like, I'm just addicted to that. And I love it. And looking back at it from the position I'm in right now, that's a lot of time spent doing something that doesn't materialize in the real world. But I do think there's value in it. And I do. I really enjoy the stories. But it got me thinking about something I was talking about with a friend who was just sharing some reflections on listening to this podcast and some food for thought on what to discuss here. But he was saying, lately I've been really trying to think about how I talk to myself. And I think, we've discussed it before. I think this is really important, the language you use with yourself. And if you don't think it's important, try it for a week and just see if anything changes. And if it doesn't, who cares, right? It's just words. But he was saying, I get stuck in the routine of saying to myself, what do I have to do today? And he said, I've been trying really hard to reframe it as, what do I get to do today? And he just mentioned that so far he just feels less anxious, more excited to do stuff. And I think this is a really good one, and it's a really simple one. I generally try to do the same. What do I get to do? I'm excited to do, rather than what do I have to do? Because I think there are a few things you have to do in life, like truly have to do. And you kind of get to live, and I know I've talked about this before, a life of side quests. And this is the video game connection. It's like, I'm so excited to go on all these inane little side quests in a video game just to see how the story unfolds. And some of them have, often little purpose to the overall story of the game. When you add it all up, why not be this excited about the side quests in your life? So I do think there's something powerful here. I thought it was a cool little note, just a good thought for today. Definitely the taking on of more, just putting more on my plate, things to do. Instead of saying like, oh, I'm so busy, I have to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, oh man, today I get to do so much. From wake up to go to bed, get to do so much. So sometimes I can't stand sleeping, but just missing out. So I like that. What do I get to do? That was really nice. Just live a life of side quests and eventually get some big levels up. Okay, nerd time over. Last little thing I wanted to touch on here. We're cruising along. I think I'm going to get it all out today. I'm still just super amazed at what dogs teach us about ourselves. I'm really trying hard to dive into this world of like training dogs and dog training and dog behavior. I'm absolutely in love with it. I think they're such cool animals, and they've always been a big part of my life. And I pretty much like all dogs. And we had like this, there's this neighbor's dog where we live, and he's gotten out of his yard a bunch of times, and he's come over here. And he's like just a big, hefty yellow lab. Could probably use an extra jog around the block or two, but friendly fella. And, just gets out and wants to explore the neighborhood, and then realizes he gets really cold and wants to find his way home, and he's made his way to our house twice. And today I was outside with my dogs, and one of the things we're trying to work on is just reactivity with them, especially on leash. It was something we didn't do a good job with early on. And all of a sudden I see Hero, the yellow lab, and he sees me and he gets super excited, and I'm outside with my two dogs. I just put them on leash. I didn't really notice Hero until I was kind of getting up to go back in the house. He comes sprinting over like a maniac. And I got all anxious. Oh no, how are my dogs going to react? And they were pretty chill, which was, and I did get them inside because they had a dog they hadn't met before, like sprinting at them full speed. But the older one, he's kind of been more of the reactive pup, he was just chill, sitting there watching Hero sprint at us like a freight train. But I think, what it made me think about was, if you're doing some soul searching or just like having a hard time, see how how do you treat your pets, your dogs, when you're frustrated and no one else is around. I think there's like so much to learn there. I raise my voice at my dogs, get frustrated with them, and I see them snap too, or maybe sometimes get a little nervous, anxious. And if I can like have just a 1 second of presence and awareness, it just gives me so much insight into like, what are my issues? Why am I reactive? Am I reactive? I don't know. It's just, they're just such amazing creatures. And I really like watching what they tell us about ourselves. And it's like, if they're acting like little nut jobs, it probably has to do with me and something I haven't supported or taught them or helped them with yet. And I like that. And a good buddy of mine who originally helped us kind of learn how to train our dog, he has said a lot. It's really you're training the human. When you're training somebody else's dog, you're really just trying to train the human, and that's the tough part of it. Because humans can be so less consistent than the dogs. But anyway, super amazed by that. Just a really fun day with the dogs. And then the last thing, man, covering a lot today. This is good, like grab bag. Just thoughts. I was talking to Cassandra. We're talking about various things and interacting with people, and maybe so-and-so doesn't like you, and so-and-so's friend doesn't like you or has a hard time working with you or something. And we were talking about that whole scenario of like, you go to Dallas and you're in Dallas and you think everybody in Dallas is an asshole. Then you go to Boston and everyone in Boston is. No, I'm kidding. And then you go to Boston and you think everybody in Boston's an asshole. And then you go down to Tampa. Everybody in Tampa's an asshole. And at some point you have to kind of stop and be like, how is it that everybody in these cities I meet, are just totally despicable and horrible to be around? It might be you. And we were kind of talking about that. What I was saying is like, there are definitely some scenarios where that is an indicator to check yourself. But I also think that is a scenario where if you're in an environment, and you could start to notice that, like, oh, people don't seem to take well to me or have a hard time with me. I also think it's worthwhile asking yourself, like, is it a bad thing? Because you might be doing some behaviors that, are admirable or required. And that just might put people off. And a lot of them. And it still might be you. You still might be the problem. But I do think it's worthwhile asking yourself, well, even if I am the problem, do I want to change that behavior about myself? So certainly there are cases where it's like, yeah, you might be the dickhead. But I also think there are some moments where if you start to notice that, like, it's worthwhile saying, like, okay, well, it still might be me. I am responsible for my own actions. But is this an action, behavior, quality I really want to change? I thought that was interesting. Thought a lot about that today. And that was really it. Kind of kicked down the doors of the entire day. So, more tomorrow.